your social studies book should be open at page 200. We're going to add, we only have one vocab word, and we're going to add it to lesson 3. So we're just going to add number 5 to lesson 3. You can just add it. You can do your squiggly line with the date. And we're going to start with number 5. Please go ahead and read, starting with the title. Lena.
Read a double bar graph. Why it matters. A double bar graph shows comparisons of two different things.
Okay. So what is our only word?
Double bar graph.
Double. Don't forget the hyphen. Bar graph. And what does a double bar graph do, Lena?
Shows comparisons of two different things.
Shows comparisons of two different things. So a double bar graph shows comparisons of two different things. Lena, when you're ready, finish out that little paragraph. On your desk, please. Scoot your chair on your desk. Oh, I'm sorry. Never mind. I thought you were writing in your lap.
By comparing the lengths of the bars, you can quickly compare the amounts they represent.
Good. Let's add that to our definition. We'll say it's going to be a little different. So if you need me to spell a word in this part, go ahead and I'll pause so that you have a chance. So it not only compares, it shows a comparison of two different things, and to use it, compare the lengths of each bar to compare the amount they represent. So, what a double bar graph does is that it shows comparisons of two different things, and to use it, you compare the length of each bar to compare the amount they represent. Yes, Aaron?
How do you spell length?
Lengths is spelled Lengths. It has a combination that we would not think happens, like GTH, but it does. Lengths. It's weird. Anybody need anything else spelled or repeated? Okay, so now let's follow the steps to read the double bar graph that you have on page 201. This bar graph right here is the same one. I just took a picture of it and projected it. So you should be looking at your graph, but if you're not sure where you're supposed to be looking, look up here where I'm looking and then look at the same place on your page. Because yes, I know this one's hard to see. So if you're not sure, if you know where you're supposed to be looking, don't even worry about this. But if you're not sure, you're kind of lost, look where I'm pointing and then look at the same place on your book, page 200. Okay, step 1 is what, Aaron?
Read the title of the
Blah, blah, blah.
Read the title of the graph on page 201.
So, let's read the title. Aaron, what is the title? 2004. So we are looking at a comparison of two exports from the Southeast in the year 2004. Are exports coming from the Southeast to go other places? Or are exports coming in to the Southeast from other places? Victoria.
They are exiting.
They are exiting. They are going out of the Southeast. So that means if they are crops, they were grown in the Southeast and then they exited the Southeast to be sold somewhere else. Remember, exports has EX, like the beginning of exit, which means it leaves the place it says it comes from. Okay, Aaron, keep going. So now we know this double bar graph is going to show two Southeast exports in the year 2004. What do we do next?
Then read the labels along the bottom of the sides.
Okay, so we're going to read the labels on the bottom. First of all, we have states. What states are we looking at, Aaron?
Florida, Virginia, and Louisiana.
Florida, Virginia, and Louisiana. They're all southeastern states, right? Now let's look at the label on the side. What do these numbers show?
Value of exports in billions of dollars.
So this is how much the exports were from these three states in billions of dollars. So this one, does it represent $1? What does this one represent? Cullen?
$1 billion.
$1 billion. So make sure you use that word billion, otherwise you're telling me, oh, they only made $1 off of their exports. Well, it probably cost more to ship than what they made. So this is not $10, it's what? Michaela?
$10 billion.
$10 billion. So pay attention to that. This is the value of the exports, how much the exports were, how much money each state made in billions of dollars. So not $1, $2, $3, $4, $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10. $1 billion, $2 billion, $3 billion, $4 billion, $5 billion, $6 billion, $7 billion, $8 billion, $9 billion, $10 billion. Okay? Aaron, read that last sentence on step 1.
In the graph, the dollar amounts shown on the left side stand for the value of the products exported.
So all that means is these numbers is how much money each state made. So if the bar goes to here, then that state made $1 billion. If the bar goes to here, then that state made $9 billion. That's what these numbers stand for. How much the state made in billions of dollars off of whatever this export is. Thank you, Aaron. So now we know what all the labels mean. We know this double bar graph shows us two southeastern exports in 2004. We know the words at the bottom are the states, the southeastern states. We know on the side it tells us how much each state made in billions of dollars. Cullen, what is step 2?
Read the graph key to see what each bar stands for.
So here's the graph key. What do they stand for? It tells you in step 2.
The red bar stands for computer products. The yellow bar stands for crops.
So, what this means is the red bar stands for how many computer products were made in factories in the States and then exported elsewhere. Remember, the red bar stands for the amount of money made off of computer products made in factories in each state. The computer products made and sold from factories in Florida. The computer products made and sold in factories in Virginia. And the computer products made and sold from factories in Louisiana. And then the yellow represents crops. Crops grown in the state and then sold somewhere else. Crops grown in Florida the amount of money made from crops grown in Florida and then sold somewhere else. The amount of money made in Virginia from crops grown there and sold somewhere else. And the amount of money made in Louisiana from crops grown there and sold somewhere else. Thank you, Cullen. Tell us step 3. Mason.
Choose one state compared to bars. In this graph, you can see whether a certain state exports more computer products or more crops.
So now we choose a state to figure out, does that state export more computer products or more crops? Mason, what state would you like to look at? Louisiana. We know the red bar stands for computer products exported, and the yellow bar stands for crops. Which one did Louisiana make more money off of? Computer products or crops?
Crops.
Crops. How do you know that?
Because the yellow line.
The yellow bar.
The yellow bar. It shows how much they have that, and then the red bar shows that they haven't made that much of that.
So we know they sold more crops in they exported more crops in Louisiana because the bar is so much larger. Remember, to use a double bar graph, we compare the lengths of each bar to compare the amount they represent. We see for Louisiana, the yellow bar, representing the amount of money made from crops, is much larger than the red bar, the amount of money made from computer products. Louisiana didn't make much money from computer products, but they made a whole lot of money off of crops. And Victoria, read step 4.
To find the amount of money a bar stands for, put your finger on top of the bar, then read the number at the left that is closest to the top of the bar.
Okay, let's do that. Victoria, what state would you like to pick?
Florida.
Florida. Would you like to look at how much they made off of computer products or crops?
And I can both at this one.
Sure, let's do computer products first. So we put our finger at the top of the bar. So we're looking at how much money Florida made in exporting computer products. We put our finger at the top of the red bar for Florida. We move to the left. And Victoria, about how much money did Florida make off of exporting computer products in 2004?
$850 billion.
Good. 8 billion 500. Sorry. 8 billion 500 million dollars. Because remember, what you do is you take that number and then you put a 5 in the next place. We know 8 billion looks like this. So if we're halfway between 8 and 9, we change this digit after the 8 to a 5. So $8,500,000,000. Okay, now let's do the same thing with crops. We put our finger at the top of the yellow crop bar for Florida, and we move to the left. About how much money did Florida make off of crops in the year 2004?
I don't want to say 50 because it's lower than 50, so I'll say 20 million. Because doesn't zero mean like you enter the million zone?
No, 0 means 0.
Oh,
This is everything between 0 and $1 billion.
okay.
So I would say maybe, well, halfway between 0 and 1 billion would be what? So we know 1 billion looks like this.
500.
500. We know if it's halfway, we have to change that to 5. And if it comes before the 1, we take that off.
So 500 million.
About 500 million is halfway, but this is a little lower. So do you think it's all the way down at like 20,000, or do you think it's more like
300.
we don't say and, we say
300 million.
300 million. So, good reasoning. That's very good reasoning. Some of you may have said 500 billion. That would have been okay. But good reasoning. So do you think we like kind of thought, well, halfway would be 500 billion. This is a little less than halfway, but probably not so low that it's less than a million or even less than 100 million. Probably about 300 million. That's good reasoning. Okay, very good. So now we know exactly how to use a double bar graph. Let's do these practice questions and then you'll get to read your own double bar graph.
Yeah.
You just celebrated a little too hard. Number 1. Which states exported more computer products than crops? Carla, that means if we're trying to figure out which states exported more computer products, are we looking for the taller red bars or the taller yellow bars?
Red bars.
Taller red bars. So, which states have taller red bars than yellow bars?
Florida.
Just Florida? Anything else? Definitely Florida. Florida's red bar is a lot taller than its yellow bar. Any other state?
Virginia.
Virginia. Virginia's red bar is a little taller than its yellow bar. Anything else? Any other state?
No.
No. So Florida and Virginia both exported more computer products than crops. Okay, number 2. Which state exported more crops than computer products? Zari. Are we looking for a taller yellow bar or a taller red bar now?
A taller yellow bar.
A taller yellow bar. Which state or states have taller yellow bars than red bars?
Louisiana.
Louisiana. Any others?
No.
No. Louisiana's yellow bar is much taller than its red bar. But that's the only state out of these 3 that exported more crops than computer products. Number 3. How did Virginia's exports of computer products compare with its exports of crops in 2004? How do you answer that? How did they compare? Who thinks they know how to word that answer? Try it. Don't just say no. I don't know. That's not showing confidence. And then you won't know the answer because you won't even try. Zadie? So you're telling me, what did Virginia do? You're comparing its computer products to its exports of crops in 2004.
It sold more computer products than crops in 2004.
There you go. That's how they compare. Virginia exported more computer products than crops in 2004. About how much more, would you say? Carla?
Maybe about, maybe about 3.
Zadie, can you help her out?
About 500.
Maybe about 500 million more. Or really, maybe about how much more?
1 billion.
About 1 billion. What you can do, you have to be really careful when you do this, is take your fingers or the side of a Post-it. You can also take the side of a Post-it. Let me get a piece of paper and I'll show you what I mean.
This one is that one.
Well, but I need this paper because I have a really big one. But you do this with the Post-it because you have much less space. You have smaller area to work with. And what you can do is hold the Post-it right along your book and then mark where the yellow bar ends.
Well, we can't mark.
On your Post-it you can.
That's what I meant.
That's why I have this piece of paper. And then mark where the red bar ends. And then compare it to a line. That's really close to about 1 billion. So that's how you can do that, to figure out about how much more. I lined up my paper with the side of the red bar. I marked where the yellow bar ended on my paper, and I marked about where the red bar ended. And then I moved my paper or my Post-it note to see about how much of this $1 billion line it took up. Thank you to those of you that are doing it with me. That shows that you really do care. So do you see that? You can use something like that, an actual physical thing, to figure out about how much more or less one is than the other. Because you can compare it to $1 billion. So the difference is really close to about $1 billion. Right, Sadie? There you go. Okay, now number 4. What was the value of Virginia's crop exports? Me? Zadie, I picked you, but you just answer that question. So. Colin, did you answer one of these questions? Numbers 1 through 4?
No.
Okay. What was the value of Virginia's crop exports? So which state are you looking at?
Virginia.
Virginia. Which bar are you looking at?
The crops.
Which bar? What color?
Yellow.
Yellow. So we go to the top of the yellow bar, and then we move left. And about how much is that?
About.
Where would you say it is on that bar?
About 50.
Is it about in the middle, towards the top, towards the bottom?
About in the middle.
About in the middle. So remember, this is how we write that. We take the next one, which is what? What is this number that comes next?
1 billion.
1 billion. We know it's in the middle, which means the place next to the billion has to be what?
5.
5. Just 5. Are we at 1 billion yet?
No.
So we take that off. What number do we have?
500 million.
500 million. What? Crops? Peanuts?
500 million crops.
What do these represent? Do they represent the number?
Dollars.
Dollars. Good. Remember, these represent the dollars, not the number of crops or computer products. So the value of Virginia's crop exports is about $500 million. It's a lot of money, and that's not even that much for them. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to pass out your independent practice. You're going to have currently writing your name, number, and date. You need to pause. Should already be done, but if it's not, just pause for a second. And let's look at the directions. The directions say, study the double bar graph, then use it to complete the activities, the problems. I don't know why they decide to use weird words, but just the questions, the problems, whatever. So, you're going to read this double bar graph, follow the steps on page 200 in your book. Then you're going to answer these questions. There are questions on the back too. It is front and back. You do not have to write in complete sentences. If the answer only requires one word, you only have to write that one word. Just make sure that you are giving every bit of information you need. Use those steps in your book. Do not ignore them. You can put your vocab notebook away. You can use your Post-it if you need to compare amounts like what we did earlier. Follow the steps. Read the title. Read the labels on the side and on the bottom. Read the key. Figure out or read it closely. If it's amounts of money, is it $1? Does 1 represent $1 million? Does it represent $1 billion? Does it represent $1 trillion? Pay close attention. You'll have until the end of the day, so that's about, I can give you 25 minutes until 2:35 to complete this. You do not have to write in complete sentences. You can just write the one-word answer. If you are ready, go ahead. If you have a question, raise your hand. Okay.